I see Twitch. I see our platform kind of as this kind of gladiator arena where you have all of the streamers in the arena competing with each other, because Twitch is streaming is a more competitive platform than say YouTube, and I'll get into that in a second. And you have all of the crowd who's picking different people to give attention to at a certain time, and then you have Twitch, which is just kind of like Caesar, that actually makes the decisions on whether on exactly how much help or exactly how much feedback somebody can get, and has absolute power over the arena. And that's and you know, Twitch is we people have observed Twitch is more competitive than say YouTube, because there's only so much time somebody can dedicate to any one broadcast at a time. You can effectively only really consume one Twitch stream at a time. Like there's multi-stream and there's squad streams, right? But truly, effectively, you can only pay attention to one. You can only be involved in one chat really at any given moment. You can only really listen to one conversation thread. You know, in theory, maximum 2 or 3. Whereas YouTube videos, you know, I'm not necessarily in competition with somebody like Harris Heller or even Wldfyre, because there's only 30 minutes of Harris Heller a week, and there's only 15 minutes of Wldfyre a week or whatever. And people dedicate more than 15 minutes a week to YouTube. So they have the ability to jump between, watch as many videos as they want, give their time to all the creators that they want to. And the competition is much, much less direct. You're not vying for people's attention like you are on Twitch, where you are actively, especially if you're fighting for partner, if you're fighting for the attention of Caesar, you're actively trying to get people to watch you over anybody else. Right. And that's kind of an inherent problem to streaming. And then Twitch as itself, you know, we talk about like, you know, I've fought for I say fight. I've asked for nicely things like transcoding options for affiliates across the board, and better servers and more options for discoverability. But the truth is, and Harris talked about this in his latest video, there is no motivation on Twitch's side to actually, it might have been Devin Nash actually, there's no motivation on Twitch's end to actually bring discoverability to smaller creators, because their motivation is to keep people on the platform. And when they're trying to keep people on the platform, it is in their best interest to invest that attention in somebody they know who's proven themselves to be engaging. And that's going to be the people with more viewers. That's going to be the people at the top. That's going to be the Asmongold's. That's going to be the Pokemains. That's going to be the Harris Hellers. More so than it's going to be the Noahs and the Wldfyres. Do you think that's an inherent problem with Twitch? Do you think that's a problem with streaming? Do you think that this is going to, because Twitch doesn't have the kind of search engine that YouTube has, and it doesn't have the kind of off stream connectivity that Facebook has, YouTube and Facebook being their main competitors right now? Do you think Twitch has what it takes to kind of stay competitive in the market going forward?
Depends on what they do. Depends on how they play their cards. I think the analogy of the bigger streamers are keeping people on the platform, I would agree with that to an extent, but there are very, very entertaining people that I personally watch as well who have 20, 30 viewers. And if Twitch were to be able to kind of boost up their discoverability and people being able to watch them, maybe somebody doesn't want to watch Nick Merckx, maybe somebody doesn't want to watch Pokemon or Tim the Tatman or somebody who's already larger, but maybe they want to watch that 20 or 30 viewer streamer because they like what they have to offer. So I think with their thought process in only trying to advertise their bigger streamers is, I feel if they don't change it, is going to be a detriment to them, because people are going to be like, okay, YouTube's starting to do discoverability. Facebook is starting to have a discoverability page as well. I don't know what they've got in the works. This is just all hypotheticals and stuff. But obviously, there are people who prefer watching smaller streamers over larger streamers because they like the chat interaction. They like that their message is being read out loud and all that other stuff that you wouldn't get necessarily with those bigger streamers. So they're not fully utilizing all these people's interests. And okay, maybe somebody wants to watch Tfue absolutely pop off in Fortnite or Warzone or whatever he's playing. But there's also that other person right next to them who's like, okay, I don't really care much for high tier gameplay. I would rather go and talk to somebody and just relax and have them talk to me back, basically. And that's where the smaller streamers are going to start gathering their viewership and only get higher from there. But Twitch is definitely not making that easy.
So would you say that there's a way for them to incorporate discoverability theoretically,
100%.
that keeps them putting that somehow finds a way to put viewers exactly where they need to be, rather than just where they are ensuring, the most likely, because that's what Twitch is doing right now. Their discoverability, quote unquote, is built around put the top streamers up front because they've proven themselves as able to engage an audience. And that is as much Twitch has put into discoverability. So would you say that there's a way to incorporate discoverability that better gets viewers where they could best be engaged, as in get the people who prefer to engage in chat with the streamer, get them to streams that they're going to be engaged?
Right. Absolutely. There's also a video on Alpha Gaming on how you could even just literally lay it out. They basically gave Twitch the blueprints as to how they can do this. My thought, which I was just thinking of, is if you're watching, let's say I'm watching Noko's stream or something like that, and I'm talking to somebody in my chat, and Twitch is noticing that you're adding this person a lot, like you're talking to them in chat, like thinking of one of his mods, or maybe I'm talking to you in the stream. I'm adding NeatOnTheRocks many times in the chat, and Twitch is like, okay, I'm noticing that he's really enjoying talking to this Noah person or something like that. When he goes live next, I'm going to recommend his channel. And then next thing you know, the person's like, oh, wait a minute, I know that name. And sure enough, you're starting to drive that engagement into going into streams.
I think
it could be something as simple as that, but
yeah, I think that's pretty smart. I've also thought of things like who I watch and what I consume is likely, not always, but is likely to be engaging to people who watch me. So for example, I will recommend people like you and people like Alex and people like Plywood who have been on my podcast. I'll recommend people like you guys to my community, and they'll love you guys because I love you guys, and your community is a reflection of yourself. So I've thought of things like, what if your recommended was also formulated like here's a tab that's like, here's channels watched by, like let's say, Gavin is an active member of my chat. Let's say Gavin gets on Twitch and he says, here are channels also watched by NeatOnTheRocks. And so then he'll get your channel, and he'll get Noko's channel, and he'll get Harris's channel and Sam's channel. And then he goes into those chats, sees me, has a point of engagement already, has something already to connect him to the content. And there's little things like that I think are just simple enough to where it won't break their bank, and that don't require a huge search engine, like a huge, the smartest AI outside the military made by Google in order to fuel it. Little things like that could raise engagement on the platform for people who aren't necessarily going and watching the Tfue streams and the Ninja streams and the Shroud streams. So, do you think Twitch will do it though?
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's really $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I have no idea. And what a lot of people are starting to, or what they don't usually realize, is that Twitch is a corporate company. They're owned by Amazon. They have to think financials. Yep. Because realistically, if they don't keep the viewership, if they don't get the money coming into the platform, they're shutting down. Like they're shutting down. Everybody's done. You don't have a choice. Like you're gone. So
we just saw that, right? With Mixer.
Yeah, absolutely. With Mixer. Absolutely. So what a lot of people don't understand is, yes, you want to help the little guy out, but you also have to remember they're a corporate company. They have deadlines to meet. They have people that they have to advertise and stuff like that in order to stay in business. Just the same as if McDonald's, which is one of the largest corporate companies in the world, they're not going to go and help out the mom and pop burger joint, if that makes any sense. Yeah. They're going to start building more of their stores. Yeah, you might want to help out the little guy, but realistically with financials and stuff, it's just not going to happen.
Twitch right now has zero discoverability, and they're bringing in new features each month that aren't helping discoverability. What do you think? So there's some opinions like these are just to keep, these are just feed for the birds, to keep us quiet, to keep us not asking for new features, because they can say, oh, look, we're giving new features. You know, is there something better Twitch can be doing? Is there a better way to be handling their platform, you think, to where we can start getting some prioritization to features that will actually help not only creators but viewers in order to get the ball rolling?
Absolutely. I couldn't necessarily tell you like specifics. That's something that obviously I'm sure they have teams for that and stuff like that, but absolutely. Sure, because what they have right now is close to nothing, if anything. Mm-hmm. I noticed, I saw on Twitter a couple days ago or something like that, they had like a Stream Academy show that I think they're going to be streaming on Twitch or something like that, where they like handpicked like 10 smaller streamers with like less than 5 viewers or something like that. And then they have a stream coach who's like helping them out. And it's basically a race to see who can grow the fastest in a certain allotted time or something like that. So I don't know. It's they're kind of making an effort, but it's not like for the majority, if that makes sense.
And part of it too is that I don't think the competition, despite the fact that Twitch started to raise some eyebrows at Ninja being bought by Mixer, and by Courage being bought by YouTube and whatnot, and the fact that YouTube and Facebook, Twitch has gone from having like 97% of the market share of streaming or something like that to now having like somewhere like 50 to 60%, and the rest being YouTube and Facebook now. What's crazy that people don't know is that no streaming platform yet, according to Devin Nash, who's kind of worked with platforms before and works kind of behind the scenes, no streaming platform is profitable. No streaming platform yet turns profit, even for their owners. Like YouTube is hosting their streaming platform at a loss, and Facebook is hosting Facebook Gaming at a loss, and Twitch itself is a loss for Amazon because they're not actually turning any. The investment in streaming costs so much more than they're making right now. And so right now, the reason Mixer shut down is not because they were losing money, because they were already losing money. The reason Mixer shut down is because they were the only company other than Twitch to lose market share over 2018 to 2019, or 2019 to 2020, something like that, over the course of 2019, I should say. Mm-hmm. They were the only company to lose market share despite buying Ninja and despite buying Shroud, and despite making these big moves to try and take some market share away from YouTube and Twitch. And then Facebook Gaming comes around and completely blows it out of the water, dwarfed Mixer very quickly. And so Mixer said, all right, well, we went from having 3% of the market share to having 2%. Microsoft said, we may as well back out, because this isn't worth our investment. This isn't worth the money sink if we're not going to get some of this market share. Because what they're hoping for is that one day streaming will become profitable, and when that day comes, it's going to be the company with the market share that's going to be raking in all those dollars. And so
having the monopoly in it.
And so Twitch is actually fighting not to get market share like the other companies are, but Twitch is fighting to keep market share, which is why they get threatened by things like buying off Ninja, where they don't by YouTube having more discoverability, or they feel they don't by YouTube having more discoverability. Because in reality, and that's why Twitch has the most strict exclusivity agreements on the platform, is because they want their streamers to be exclusive, because that's what keeps their market share. And that's why, YouTube partners or Mixer partners could stream on whatever platform they want. And Twitch has those exclusivity clauses that they're putting out to keep you from multi-streaming and to keep you from streaming on other platforms, because they're trying to keep that market share conglomerated in Twitch rather than gaining market share. They're just trying to keep it because they already have the majority, and they would rather just keep what they have rather than try and gain, because trying to gain would cost money.
Right.
And Amazon, Twitch is like a speck of dust to Amazon in reality, because of how much money Amazon pulls in per day. So Amazon's not really. I always say, like, we have, Twitch has Amazon money. We could have way better servers than we do, but in reality, Amazon isn't interested in getting affiliates transcoding. They don't even know. They probably don't even really know what transcoding is as far as our culture goes, because of how small Twitch is to their operation. So Do you think that Twitch is screwed? Like, because part of me believes that Twitch is screwed, knowing all this. I don't know that there is a way that Twitch can compete against, because YouTube now with gaining attention through Dr. Disrespect, and their streaming platform really raising some eyeballs, and Facebook Gaming purchasing Mixer, and then them raising some eyeballs. I'm really worried that Twitch needs to make a move yesterday in order to stay competitive. What do you think?
Yes and no. Now, I'll kind of use an analogy for it.
Sure.
Twitch is kind of like the bully on the playground, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then you got Mixer, and then you got Facebook. And they're the big dog. They're much larger than everybody else, and they've just been beating up on these guys. And their buddies also, who are backing up the bully, is all of the partners, all the Twitch streamers and stuff. And they're looking back, and basically all they're doing is threatening those guys. All they're saying is, you better not take their side, otherwise you're gone. You're a target too.
Yeah.
Now that these YouTube and not really much Facebook's kind of not.
Yeah, still only like 10% of the market share, or something like that.
Now that YouTube's kind of being bigger, it's like hitting a growth spurt, and next thing you know, you're like eye to eye with your bully. You're not the small kid anymore, and then people are like, I'm not scared of you anymore, and then they're gonna start switching over, and then after a while, everybody's gonna start switching over. So if Twitch doesn't start being nice to these people and adding features that people want, everybody's going to go back over to the good guy, and that's going to be YouTube more than likely, just from seeing what's going on.
Yeah, it's a death spiral. It's a death spiral
100%.
Because once it starts to lose, once YouTube gets to 40-50% of the market share, and viability on YouTube, it gets to be looking really, really attractive, streamers move in groves, right? They just jump ship immediately, because the market is even when Ninja moved over to Mixer, and everybody on the platform and everybody who really knew how streaming worked said that's not really going to do anything for Mixer, and then they were right. Still, we saw so many streamers jump ship to Mixer just because they thought that was going to be their shot, Right. So the streamers are desperate. Streamers are looking for a platform for them that will work for them, because currently no platforms really work for the streamer. They work for the viewer sometimes. Not really any platforms are really working for the streamer right now.
Which is another reason why people didn't like go over and watch Shroud or watch Ninja when they moved over to Mixer, because I had a couple people are like, well, why didn't you switch over to Shroud and Ninjas when they moved over to Mixer? And it's like, well, I didn't really like the platform in the first place, but the community feel, Twitch has a very interesting, and just nobody has matched Twitch's community feel, if that makes any sense.
I agree.
Even though it's so large, nobody's kind of matched that feeling. And a lot of people are like, well, I didn't really like the feeling over at Mixer, but I do over at Twitch. So I'm just going to stay over with Twitch. Now, Twitch has that going for them, but on a corporate level, on more of a business level, they're still the bully on the playground.
Exactly. And a lot of people argue that they're losing that culture. They're losing that culture because it's becoming more corporate, and it's becoming less creator friendly. Because it used to be, Twitch was a small team. The Twitch as in the company was a small team, and they were rolling out features that were community based, and they were humanized because they were humanized because they were behind the ball, because they were a small team and they only had so many resources. And they were kind of they were kind of humanized by that element, and there was an understanding, and that kind of attributed to the culture. Whereas streams were scuffed, the platform was scuffed, viewers were scuffed, everything was scuffed. Now that things are a little bit cleaner, and we're moving into the age of streaming, where now streaming is a viable place to create content, whereas used to be it was a place where you played video games and talked to people. Now it's losing a little bit of that culture, and I'm worried that in moving to these more corporate moves and getting more interested in how do we expand our ad base, and how do we expand our viewer base, how do we keep our market share, I'm worried that kind of thinking is going to be detrimental to the culture, and we're going to see the culture death spiral along with the platform.
Right.
But anyways,
I used it as an example earlier, but I think I can touch on it a little bit more in depth of McDonald's, because like I said, they're a very, very large corporate company, And I'm going to compare Twitch and McDonald's here really quick. So when, I don't know if you kind of know the history of this, they made a movie on it, and this is how I know about it. But
Michael
the owner
Keaton, right?
of McDonald's basically teamed up with like a mom and pop shop and said, I'm taking over this and I'm going to make you guys millions of dollars, basically is what ended up happening. So behind the backs of the original owners of this burger joint basically was like, hey, you can't make those decisions on your own. This is not cool. Why are you doing this? Like the quality's going down, stuff like that. And he's like, well, I bought you guys out, so you don't have a say anymore. And then basically when he made it big, he just ditched all the smaller guys, the guys who he originally worked with, and just blindsided them without them knowing. Now it can be the same thing as with Twitch. Twitch, when it was small, I think it was when it was Justin TV, I think it's what it was called. It was all just like, okay, we're here for the creators. There wasn't much money coming in, so oh man, let's be buddies. Let's just be nice to each other. Now that you're now at a corporate level where you're making billions of dollars, you're gone. You're blindsided. The only people we care about are the people who are going to make us money, and it's just the same thing as corporate CEOs for a majority anyways.